I've been transported into a sweet romance novel. It's a sweet, doting romance where the older female lead dotes on the younger male lead. Unfortunately, I'm the vicious supporting female character. I don't want to be vicious. So, while the male lead is still young, why not steal him away? Who's to say I can't be that big sister, right? Childhood acquaintance. When Zhou Maoxiu was little, he wasn't some exquisitely carved and polished little darling. He was a pitiful child in our village, unloved by his father and unwanted by his mother. His clothes and trousers never fit properly. His shoes were cracked and full of holes. He was always filthy and dressed in rags. His face was smeared with dirt, here and there, with dark streaks across both cheeks from wiping his nose with his sleeves. His hair hung over his eyebrows, so dirty it was clumped together. Think of those children from left-behind families in impoverished areas you see in public service advertisements on TV. Yes, that's exactly what he looked like. Having just transmigrated, I was still a bit dizzy. The original host's grandfather had bought her a small cake, which she was utterly delighted with and had gone off to show it off. The male lead threw a stone at her, hit her on the head, and the cake fell to the ground. That started the feud. Every time the original host saw him after that, she would find some way to torment him. This continued until the male lead left the village. They met again at university. She fell for him, chased him, tried to break up him and the female lead, persecuted the female lead, set traps for the male lead, until the two of them found evidence against her and had her sent to prison. In prison, she crossed the wrong top dog and was killed off. I touched the spot on my head where the stone had hit. It was okay. The bump wasn't too big. That little wolf cub was glaring at me coldly from not far away, looking like he might pounce at any moment to snatch something. I silently squatted down, picked up a stone myself. If he dared pounce, I dared split his head open, beat the fear into him once and for all, to end future trouble forever. No. The way he looked now just begged for a beating, didn't it? Was it really bullying? Oh, forget it. He's only just over 6 years old. Never mind my 22-year-old soul being old enough to be his mother. Even the original host was 10 years old. Don't stoop to a little brat's level. I quietly picked up a small cake. The cream was ruined, but the golden sponge cake underneath was still there. I brushed off the dusty bits and placed it on the low wall. The wall wasn't high, about a meter tall. I was a head taller than the wall at this point. Hey, I called out to him, tapped my finger next to the cake, then turned and went back inside the house. He was too dirty. I didn't want to have direct contact with him. I requested a benevolent soul to come and wash him. I hid inside the house, peeking through the window. Zhou Maoxiu seemed unprepared for this turn of events. His fierce eyes held a moment of stunned confusion. Then he rushed over like he was snatching food, grabbed the cake, and ran off. When Zhou Maoxiu started loitering near my house again, I efficiently scraped the leftover food into a large bowl and placed it on the wall. I didn't even acknowledge him, just turned and went back inside. I had absolutely no desire to look after him. In fact, I felt like the original host, wanting to chase him away with stones or a stick. He was frightening. Those cold, dark eyes staring at you felt full of ill intent. Coupled with thoughts of his future ruthless behavior, I felt like hiding in the farthest corner of the universe. Why haven't you been chasing him away these past couple of days? My grandma asked me. I scratched my braid, spouting lofty morals. The teacher said we should be helpful. And besides, didn't you and Granddad say? His dad drinks and doesn't care for him. His birth mother ran off. He's so pitiful. My grandma patted my head affectionately, saying I was sensible and had grown up. I just wanted him to remember this kindness of providing food, so that later he'd simply forget all about me. A sharp, cracking sound rang out in the yard, clear and piercing. I was doing my homework. It gave me a huge fright. The bowl that had previously been on the wall was now shattered into pieces about 2 meters away from me. I clenched my pen tightly, as if it were Zhou Maoxiu's stupid head. That little bastard. This was the 4th bowl. The first one never came back. The second one disappeared without a trace. The third one shattered in the drainage ditch. outside our house. The fourth one breaking in the yard could be considered returning to its roots. And that little bastard had long since vanished without a trace. I placed a bowl on the wall. Next to the bowl I placed a sweet. It had green, transparent plastic wrapping. You could see the round sweet inside. I found a bamboo stick over a meter long and hid behind a lush, leafy evergreen bush. I felt like a mischievous child setting a trap in the snow to catch sparrows. Immensely excited. As soon as he came, I would punish evil, promote good, and execute heaven's justice. After being bitten by several mosquitoes, I finally saw Zhou Maoxiu walking over, limping. I frowned. Hadn't he been running perfectly fine this morning? How had he become lame in just an hour or two? As he got closer, even the layers of grime couldn't hide the large, bruised bump on his forehead, which was oozing blood. When he saw the sweet, his small body jolted in surprise. His face held a look of bewilderment born from sheer shock. He stood there, looking for a long time, before slowly reaching out to take it. Cautionally, as if it were a priceless treasure. My chest felt tight. Was the male lead this pitiful when he was young? Didn't he even get to have sweets? Seeing he was about to leave, I hurriedly stepped out. Hey. Zhou Maoxiu was startled immensely. He jumped back in fright, his dark eyes wide with panic and alarm. His reaction startled me a bit too. Don't break my bowls. Put them back properly, remember that. I dragged the bamboo stick past him. He stood there, motionless. I thought for a moment, then pulled the remaining sweets from my pocket and held them out to him. Here. He stared blankly for a long moment, then turned and ran away quickly, limping, swaying with each step. I was even worried he might fall over with one of those sways. Fortunately, he didn't. I looked down at my palm. A few sweets lay there quietly, their wrappers bright and colourful. I closed my hand around them, deciding to give him another one next time. My granddad came back before lunch and chatted about things he'd heard in the fields. Zhou Maoxiu had been beaten by his dad that morning, because his dad had woken up from his drunken state, and there was no hot water for him to drink. I thought of his bleeding forehead, his limping gait, and the several scars revealed on his arm when his sleeve rode up as he reached for the sweet. This meal felt a bit hard to swallow. Sometimes I felt like I was feeding a stray dog, like right now. I didn't see Zhou Maoxiu, so I tapped the small aluminium bowl with my chopsticks. Why switch to a small aluminium bowl? To save my family's bowls. Zhou Maoxiu appeared shortly after, drawn by the sound. He stood not far away, looking at me with those clear eyes. His dark, bright eyes were especially striking in his filthy, messy face. Wary, defensive, yet with a hint of anticipation. That look in his eyes, it really tugged at the heartstrings. I silently placed another milk sweet on top of the chopsticks. I nodded slightly as a greeting, then turned back towards the house. I had thought about it. Maybe, while he's still young, I could steal him away. An older woman, younger man romance. Who's to say I can't be that big sister, right? On second thought, better not. I don't like yanderes. Yander equals mentally ill. My parents ran a small business in the city. I lived with my grandparents in a village not far from the town. I would go to the city for secondary school after primary school graduation. Zhou Maoxiu, 3 years younger than me, started primary school this term. I heard it was only because the teachers were working on ensuring school attendance that they discovered an age-appropriate child was enrolled. They went to his house and managed to get his drunkard father to send him to school. During the 7-day National Day holiday, I fed him for 7 days. Even though it was just leftovers, it was hot and nutritious. Progressing from breaking my bowls, to throwing the aluminium bowl and chopsticks back into our yard, to now washing the bowl and chopsticks and putting them back properly. He was at least somewhat grateful. Well, we can ignore the dents and dings on the bottom and sides of the aluminium bowl from being thrown. Grateful, my foot. That little bastard stole my bun. The shopkeeper's wife handed it over. I was just reaching for it, when he snatched it, dashed off, and disappeared in a flash. I stared at the shopkeeper's wife. The shopkeeper's wife stared at me. She had no intention of being the one out of pocket. I silently took out another £1 note and bought a steamed bun instead. The bun cost £1. The bun cost 70 pence. My grandma had given me £2, so I had 30 pence left. That £1 was supposed to be for a new pen. That little bastard. Back in the classroom, collecting homework, organizing morning reading. The boys were utterly disobedient. No matter how I tried to rally them, there was no response. The anger from having my bun stolen finally found an outlet. I slammed the book down hard on the teacher's desk. Bang. The sound, filled with my rage, echoed through the room. The classroom instantly fell silent, everyone looking back at me in shock. I glared coldly at the rowdy boys. Try making noise again? You lot of little rascals. You're here to read in the mornings, not to mess about. Get back to your seats now. I'll count to 3. Perhaps unleashing the deterrent force of my adult self. The 10-year-old brats, while superficially defiant, quietly returned to their seats without another word, listening to the sound of reading aloud. Looking down at these young Year 4 primary school students, I truly felt it was all like a dream. Me, a 22-year-old adult, was now a Year 4 primary school student. And the class president, no less. I'm so impressive. During the break for the second lesson's exercises, I discovered I was actually the leader for the group exercises. How showy is that? Luckily, I had the original host's memories, or I'd have been utterly embarrassed. The exercise leader stands up high, so I spotted him at once. Over by the left side of the stage, in Year 1, a child who looked like he'd been dug out of a rubbish tip, filthy beyond belief, was being told off by a teacher. He stood ramrod straight, eyes fixed on the ground, the picture of someone who wouldn't take anything in. Just looking at him made me angry. Lunch was provided at school, a free nutritional meal supplied by the state. It was edible, enough to keep you going, but you couldn't really call it delicious. But Zhou Maoxiu could put away 3 large bowls of it. He'd shovel the food into his mouth like a starving ghost reincarnated, stuffing his mouth full with every bite, chewing roughly a couple of times before swallowing. The more I watched, the more apprehensive I became. I was afraid he'd choke himself to death. I stayed behind to finish sweeping the classroom, locked up, and placed the key on the windowsill of the teacher's temporary accommodation. Just after I came downstairs, several older boys carried Zhou Maoxiu right past me, whooshing by. I stood still for a moment, sighed, turned around, went back upstairs and knocked on the Year 6 teacher's door. Might as well do a good deed. The teacher was very worried. I didn't feel much, honestly. I knew he wouldn't die. By the time we found him, Zhou Maoxiu had already been dumped in a roadside paddy field, soaked through and covered head to toe in mud. Only his eyes were visible, cold, penetrating and somewhat frenzied. The field was large with very little water. The dark, black soil was exposed above the water level, and the rice stubble was sprouting green leaves. He sat in one corner of the field, small and alone. My heart twinged. The original host had encountered this situation too. Let it happen. Even mocked him. Splashed water and threw mud at him, teasing him for a good while before leaving. I walked to the edge of the field and reached out my hand. Come here. The mud-covered figure sat motionless in the field, his eyes bright yet icy cold. Eyes that should have been filled with childish innocence were now filled with a vicious desire to drag everyone down with him. I thought for a moment, then held out a sweet. His eyeballs slowly turned towards the sweet. His dark pupils contracted slightly, hinting at a trace of grievance. Come here, I said, extending my hand further. It took a long moment before he tried to stand up. The mud was heavy, seeming to pull him down into the muck. Using his hands and feet, he stood, fell to his knees, stood, fell again, and finally managed to stand and walk over to me. A hand, caked in mud with no visible skin, reached out. I withdrew the sweet and grabbed his hand, placing it in the water to wash. Wash the mud off first. The teacher frowned, as if facing an enormous nuisance, and finally said to me, Classmate, why don't you take him home? I said, Teacher, it would be better if you handled this. Zhou Maoxiu's father is the village drunk. He hits people when he's drunk. In the end, the parents of the several Year 6 students were contacted. The parents negotiated amongst themselves, took Zhou Maoxiu to get cleaned up, and he was even changed into someone's old clothes. After all these days, I finally got to see the male lead's real face. Apart from being a bit thin, he wasn't bad looking at all. The male lead lived up to his title. He followed behind me, carrying someone else's old backpack. It was huge, the bottom almost reaching the back of his knees. The books inside were probably some Year 6 students' old textbooks. His original backpack was grimy, one strap broken and tied in a knot, the zip broken, gaping open like a mouth. Looked like it had been fished out of a rubbish tip. It met its end in the paddy field today. I turned around. He stopped. I didn't like you stealing my bun this morning. If it happens again, I will definitely hit you. Just you try. He lifted his head and glared at me fiercely, then quickly ran ahead. I shouted after him. The sweet. He stopped abruptly, turned, rushed back, snatched the sweet, and ran off again. I couldn't help but mutter, "Little bastard." My grandma asked me why that Joe boy hadn't been around for days. I said I didn't know. Maybe I'd said I'd hit him and he held a grudge. Tapping the bowl didn't summon anyone anymore. The food left on the wall went unclaimed, surrounded by flies. Or perhaps he could manage with the school lunches now, and didn't need the food I put out. I thought I'd try for 2 more days. If he didn't eat it, I'd stop putting it out. The male lead's ruthlessness wasn't something that appeared suddenly. He always had that streak in him. He killed a cat, twisted its neck, right in front of me. Motorbike taxis often sped down the village road, carrying passengers. A kitten, too slow to get out of the way, got run over. It was vomiting blood, its limbs twitching, unable to even make a sound. It wasn't going to survive. Zhou Maoxiu stood about 2 meters from the kitten, witnessing the tragedy. I was a few meters behind him. He stood there for a long while, then slowly walked over and picked it up by the scruff of its neck. The kitten was still struggling, twitching, but the movements were faint. I thought he might place it by the roadside, maybe stroke it to comfort it a little. I was overestimating him. He gripped the kitten's head with one hand and its body with the other, and gave a sharp twist. A chill instantly ran down my own neck. All the hairs on my body stood on end, my scalp tingling. I took a step back. He looked back at me, his gaze indifferent, as if untouched by any worldly concern. Like a demon, yet also like a detached immortal. He didn't move. I didn't dare move either. The coolness brought by the autumn wind seemed to freeze me solid. It wasn't until another motorbike roared past, and the sounds of students laughing and playing drew nearer, that I felt grounded in the world again. He moved too, slowly cradling the silent kitten in his arms. He walked onto the path along the edge of someone's field. I hesitated, then followed. I was afraid he'd be depraved enough to roast and eat the cat. He didn't eat it. He went into a small grove, gathered some branches, dug a hole, placed the cat inside, buried it, and covered it with dry leaves. Watching that small back, I began to understand his motive for the earlier mercy killing. Rather than struggling painfully towards death, better to end it directly. Short, sharp pain is better than prolonged agony. But he was barely 7 years old. I truly couldn't imagine what kind of life he'd lived, for one so young to be so decisive. I took a lidded lunchbox from my school bag. My grandma had bought it for me in Year 3 when I had a cold and couldn't eat much to bring congee. Zhou Maoxiu, I called him. This lunchbox is for you. At lunch, get another portion to take home after you've eaten. Remember to tell your teacher. He turned around and stared straight at me. His eyes were overly bright, making them seem very cold, like a stagnant pool in the middle of an icy wilderness. Just cold, devoid of life. Come and get it. I raised my voice. He slowly stood up and walked over, planting himself in front of me, motionless. I leaned over, reached past his shoulder, pulled the zip of his backpack open, and stuffed the lunchbox inside. He already had a sour smell about him again. I wrinkled my nose. Go home and heat some water for a bath. If you have a big tub or bucket at home, fill it. When the water temperature is right, take your clothes off and get in. Bathe every 2 days. Change your clothes every 2 days too. After your bath, soak the dirty clothes, add a little washing powder. I took his hand. It was so black, so dirty. I sighed inwardly. Your hands and face need washing when you get up in the morning. Then I drew a circle on his palm. This much is enough. Mix it with your hand. Count to 100. Then step in and tread on the clothes with your feet. Stomp hard, rub with your feet. Then wring them out. Fetch clean water to rinse. Rinse until there are no washing powder bubbles left. Got it? He didn't make a sound. Didn't nod or shake his head. I felt a bit discouraged. Just over 7 years old. Hand washing. It was probably asking a bit much of him. Forget it. Come with me. I'm washing clothes today. I'll show you once. I carried the washing tub outside the wall. Made him watch carefully. Soaking with washing powder, counting to 100, treading on them. Then scrubbing by hand, wringing them out, changing the water and rinsing 3 times, hanging them on the clothes rack. Can you do it? He nodded. I gave him the leftovers. My grandparents aren't back yet. Take this home to eat. I need to cook now too. In the mornings, I would share a sweet potato with him. My grandma cooked them for the pigs. I took 2. Or sometimes a steamed bun my grandma made, occasionally sharing my egg with him. But raising him like this indefinitely wasn't practical. I said to him, "The land at your place. Didn't your dad plant some things when he wasn't drinking? Go dig up some sweet potatoes, take them home, wash them, and cook them in the morning to eat." No. The voice was young, but gloomy. What do you mean, no? Didn't plant anything. I worried he didn't understand. Didn't plant anything at all. No. They say some people spend their whole lives healing from their childhood. Zhou Maoxiu's miserable childhood would probably take several lifetimes to heal from. His family was a household receiving the 5 guarantees: food, clothing, health, housing and burial expenses for those in difficulty. His father just used that meager subsidy for drink and gambling, leaving Zhou Maoxiu to fend for himself. No rice, no vegetables. His dad just made sure he himself was fed, not caring about the rest. When Zhou Maoxiu was hungry, he'd scrounge or pick up things to eat. If he couldn't find anything, he'd steal. If he was caught and dragged to his father would beat him without a word. I heard the child used to cry at first, begging, "Dad, don't hit." But his father only became more severe. Once, his father beat him until he lost consciousness. After he woke up, the whole child became gloomy. No matter how he was beaten, he was silent. Just enduring it mutely. Just like now. I leaned against the wall, listening to the thump, thump, thump of blows from the corridor. If you didn't know, you might think someone was taking advantage of the sunny weather to air out quilts, beating them with a clothes beater to fluff them up. But it was someone beating a person. A small child, being punched, slapped, and kicked by his father without the slightest restraint. The sound of each blow landing on him struck my heart. The school toilets weren't on every floor. They were at the edge of the playground. I had gone downstairs to use the toilet, and happened to see him being kicked flying. From the classroom doorway, he flew and hit the wall of the balcony. Like a discarded toy thrown out of a house. Curled up there, unable to resist, incapable of resisting, unwilling to resist. I quickly ducked back behind the wall. I didn't want him to see me. The teacher tried to intervene, saying you can't hit a child like that. His father said, he deserves it for stealing. Beat the fear into him, so he won't dare steal again. What did he steal? He stole someone else's clothes hangers and washing powder. I taught him to wash clothes. But he didn't have any washing powder or clothes hangers at home. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. The pain kept me rational. I couldn't charge out and beat that scum to a pulp. So when he left, as he reached the stairwell, I saw him. I charged out suddenly, slamming straight into his back. The stench of alcohol nearly made me vomit. He fell to the ground. I fell too. I scrambled up quickly, bowing my head to apologize. "Ah, it's Uncle Joe." "Sorry, Uncle Joe. I didn't do it on purpose." "Zhao Chu." I was in a hurry to get to the toilet. I wasn't looking where I was going. "Sorry, Uncle Joe." "Hurry up and go then." "Thank you, Uncle Joe." I quickly ran towards the toilets. After school, I sorted through the clothes hangers at home. I set aside the bent and peeling ones, then poured half a pack of washing powder into a plastic water bottle and placed it on the wall. I tapped the aluminium bowl. Zhou Maoxiu peeked out from behind someone else's wall. I pointed at the things. "Take them home." He shuffled over slowly. His hair looked washed. His clothes were changed. And he didn't smell anymore. Just a few places weren't quite clean. I pointed behind his ears and around his neck. "When you wash your face and bathe, you need to wash these places too." I handed him another sweet, pursed my lips and asked softly, "Does it hurt?" The child's hand, reaching for the sweet, stiffened slightly. He shook his head. He clutched the sweet, lowered his eyelids, and stood straight as a rod. This wasn't being stubborn or uncooperative. It was the defiance of someone struggling just to survive. I suddenly understood. A Yanda probably isn't born. They're made through suffering. I reached out and ruffled his hair. Unconsciously, my voice softened. "It will get better. It will definitely get better. Your birth mother will come for you. Your stepfather will be very good to you. And you'll have an older sister who takes good care of you. And you'll fall in love with her too." No matter how early I got up, my grandma was always up earlier. She'd have breakfast ready, telling me to eat first, and I could read for a while afterwards. When my school bag was packed, my grandma handed me a plastic bag with 2 greyish sweet potatoes inside, cooked in the ashes of the stove last night. "Give them to that Joe boy." I called Zhou Maoxiu over and told him to thank my grandma. He stayed silent. Grandma patted his head kindly. "No need, no need. They're just a few worthless sweet potatoes. Eat up, get full, so you can go to school properly." I didn't hold out much hope for him, tugging on his clothes to leave. "Thank you." A voice as faint as a mosquito's buzz. I thought I'd imagined it. I patted his head. "Well done. Let's go." At school, I went to the 2nd floor. He went to the 1st. When I came down for the morning exercises, he was standing outside his classroom again. The teacher was questioning him sternly and impatiently about why he hadn't done his homework. He stood there silently, like a stump. "If you don't do it again, I'll call your father." This threat was probably meant to be serious, but Zhou Maoxiu showed no reaction at all. I hadn't planned on managing him. There was no mission, no system, ordering me to look after him. Perhaps deep down, I ultimately had the heart of a benevolent, do-gooding Holy Mother. First, let's get him to a point where he can support himself. While my grandma was planting cabbage, I tapped the aluminium bowl with chopsticks, summoning Zhou Maoxiu. I made him watch and learn. The child wore a rare look of bewilderment. "Learn," I said. "Learn how to do it. Then go home and plant some. Support yourself. Stop stealing food." He watched intently until the end. I gave him a bowl of rice and placed a small packet of cabbage seeds in his clothes pocket. "Go home and scatter these in a plot of land. Come ask if you don't understand." Watching him walk away, I couldn't resist shouting after him, "Do your homework." Zhou Maoxiu and I developed a tacit understanding. He'd come to my house in the morning for a simple breakfast, then follow behind me to school. After school, he'd wait for me and follow behind me on the way home. To prevent him from being bullied by older students, I had him do his homework outside his teacher's office. Everyone had started harvesting their sweet potatoes. I was in the fields helping my grandparents. They dug them up. I was responsible for shaking the clumps of mud off the potatoes and pulling off the roots. I saw Zhou Maoxiu in the distance, standing still, watching us with a numb, cold gaze. Suddenly I had an idea. "Granddad, Grandma, I'll be over there for a moment." I found a small rice bag, gave it to Zhou Maoxiu, and told him to bring the bag and come find me in a little while. As soon as I started walking, he immediately followed. I pushed him back. You stand here. Count to 100 before coming over, and bring the bag. Understand? My grandparents asked what I was doing. I said I saw Zhou Maoxiu and told him to go get a bag. He could help us sort the potatoes later, and we'd give him a few. Zhou Maoxiu arrived with the bag. A small child, holding the bag upright and proper. The bag obscured most of his body. My heart suddenly ached a little. He probably thought I was entrusting him with something very important. Hence his solemn posture and movements. I spoke very loudly. You're here? Quick. Help us with these. After we're done, you can pick a few potatoes to take home. My grandparents glanced at each other and loudly chimed in. Hurry up and help, lad. Grandad will help you carry them back later. He didn't understand. Perhaps it was the first time he'd received kindness like this. Not a condescending handout, nor a dismissive act of disdain. He looked at me. I shouted at him. Hurry up. It'll be dark soon. He worked very hard, quickly and meticulously. The cabbage sprouted. A lush green patch. Zhou Maoxiu, copying others, gathered many sticks to fence off his little vegetable patch, preventing other people's chickens and ducks from ruining it. A few days ago, my grandma told me to bring him a few radish seedlings and cabbage seedlings. Your little cabbages are growing really well. I walked around the patch, genuinely impressed. The male needs hands. Were they the legendary golden touch? Excelling at everything he tried. Let me pick some for you. Without a word, he was about to step into the patch. I grabbed and pulled him back. Don't, I said, handing him the seedlings. My grandma asked me to bring these. Plant them as soon as possible. You. He hesitated, as if he wanted to say something but didn't know how. I leaned forward, hands on my knees, half squatting to his level. How many sweet potatoes do you have now? 3 large bags. In a few days, my granddad will bring you 10 pounds of rice. By then, more or less, others might follow suit. Clean your house. Find a place to store the rice. He nodded heavily, then suddenly turned and ran home, looking back over his shoulder as he ran. I'll get you some water. A 6 or 7-year-old child, learning the ways of adult interaction. I didn't know whether to feel heartache or relieved. My heart felt heavy. He carried the water carefully. The ceramic bowl was spotless. The water was perfectly clear. I washed them. He rubbed his fingers together. What? The water vat and the bowl. I washed them. I encouragingly ruffled his fluffy hair a couple of times. You're doing very well. So that was it. Because I was holding the water without drinking, he was afraid I thought it was dirty. So he explained quietly. I drank the water and handed the bowl back to him. It's winter. Remember to boil water for drinking, or you might catch a cold. Xiao Chun's here. A slovenly, sleazy man suddenly appeared in the doorway. Before I could react, Zhou Maoxiu spun around, his small frame slightly spreading his arms in a protective stance. I was instantly stunned. So small, so scared, so brave. Uncle Joe, my grandma asked me to bring you some vegetable seedlings. I'm heading back now. I patted Zhou Maoxiu's shoulder. Be careful. Don't provoke him. I'm leaving. Zhou Maoxiu's teacher called me to the office. Said Zhou Maoxiu had been in a fight, and told me to deal with it. I was utterly surprised. Teacher, I am not Zhou Maoxiu's guardian. I have no obligation to be here listening to your reprimand. She choked up instantly. But, you want to change him, you want him to improve. That's your kindness and professional ethics as a teacher. But that shouldn't be transferred onto me. I'm not his relative. I'm just an older sister from the same village who knows him. Walking out of the office, Zhou Maoxiu was at the door like an abandoned puppy. Both wronged and furious. Fists clenched, glaring at me fiercely. I smacked my hand down on his head. I'm good to you because I'm kind, but I'm not your mother. Some things aren't my responsibility. I turned and walked away. The little bastard was still angry? I was the one who should be angry. Being lectured for no reason, told that as his older sister, I should keep my brother in line. Too angry to let it go, I walked back and smacked him on the back. Why were you fighting? What kind of fight requires slamming someone into the wall? You were too heavy-handed. If your teacher contacts your dad, won't your dad beat you to death? Go apologize to your classmate now. Otherwise, don't talk to me. Zhou Maoxiu shot a quick glance at me, then bolted into the office like a cannonball and thumped down onto his knees in front of the other boy. Loudly, I'm sorry. Me? The teacher's in the office. The sobbing boy was also scared speechless, his mouth hanging open, forgetting to cry. My eyes suddenly stung. This child. Did he think apologizing meant you had to kneel? On the way back, I lectured him extensively on principles. Apologizing is mainly about recognizing your own mistake and sincerely saying sorry. And you have to correct the mistake. Otherwise, saying sorry is meaningless. A real man doesn't easily kneel, unless it's for something extremely important, or a situation where you absolutely have no choice. I was chattering away. The child's eyes were bright, curved into little crescents, his face full of joy. Weird. Being lectured made him so happy. During the final exam revision period, I accidentally saw a Chinese test paper with a score of 18. I was shocked beyond belief. The male lead, whose character setting is a top student. Chinese, 18 points. The book didn't describe the male lead's childhood much. It was mostly mentioned in dialogues at university between the female antagonist pestering the male lead, and in the male lead's recollections. So, whether the male lead scored 18 in year 1 was unknown. I moved my gaze from the crumpled test paper to Zhou Maoxiu, who was doing his homework with his back to me, secretly glancing at me from the corner of his eye. Where's your math paper? He paused, then slowly pulled another crumpled paper from his backpack and handed it to me. Although crumpled, the red mark was very clear. 1. Okay. Just weak in one subject. There were only 2 weeks left until finals. Not enough time to fix much. I had him come to my house on the weekend and redo all the test papers he could find in a notebook. I'd explain anything he didn't understand. I thought it would be like New mending the heavens, fixing some deficiencies. Turns out it was like Jingwei filling the ocean. An endless, daunting task. Doesn't understand this. Doesn't understand that. Can't do this. Can't do that. I experienced the pain of being a teacher. Forget about the final exam. We'd have to catch up during the winter break. After the exam, my grandparents said cheerfully, Zhao Chun is a teacher now. So impressive. Whether it's impressive or not, this student was truly hard to teach. Question. Min Nong was written by the dynasty poet Me. The poem title is Min Nong. Right below the title, it lists the poet and the dynasty. Tang Li Shen. The Tang dynasty poet Li Shen. Zhou Maoxiu confidently wrote his answer. I watched as he wrote Li Shen in the first blank and Tang in the second. I suppressed the fire rising in my chest, picked up a pen, and circled the word Tang. This is the dynasty. It goes in the first blank. Then I circled Li Shen. This is the poet's name. The poet is the person who wrote the poem. It goes in the second blank. Zhou Maoxiu erased the wrong answers with his rubber and carefully wrote Li Shen, Chu, Hei Ri Dang Wu. Quick-acting heart rescue pills. I need quick-acting heart rescue pills. Because of that question, I didn't let him come for tutoring for 2 days. He didn't deserve it. Little bastard. When the final results came out, I got 98 in Chinese, 100 in math. Zhou Maoxiu got 45 in Chinese, 85 in math. Gritting my teeth, I mustered the courage to take on the tutoring responsibility again. Whether he had an epiphany or what, Zhou Maoxiu learned quickly. Except for Chinese, where he occasionally just couldn't get it. He basically understood everything else after being taught once. My parents came back to take me to the city for a visit, and brought the workbooks, reference books, and copybooks I asked for. I left Zhou Maoxiu with a lot of homework, enough to fill his winter break. When I left, he watched me with longing eyes, his large eyes full of reluctance. I patted his head. "I'll be back soon. I'll bring you sweets and toys when I come back. Probably by the time you finish the workbooks, I'll be back." Actually, I could have not gone, but the original host seemed to spend part of every winter and summer break with her parents. I couldn't be an exception. I brought Zhou Maoxiu 2 boxes of snap poppers and 2 boxes of spinning tops, and a pair of shoes. I bought these with my pocket money and the reward money my parents gave me, I emphasized. I hoped he would remember all my kindness. When we met again in the future, we could smile at each other, not him wanting to kill me. He held the shoebox, not reacting for a long time. I bent down to look at him. Zhou Maoxiu's eyes were red, tears swirling in their sockets, his nose tip also red. Seeing Zhou Maoxiu like this made my heart feel stuffy, and my throat choked up. I reached out and patted his head, ruffling his hair a couple of times. His hair was very clean now, shiny, smooth, and soft. "Happy New Year, Zhou Maoxiu." He pressed his lips together, finally looking up at me after a long moment. Glittering teardrops rolled from his red-rimmed eyes, hanging perilously on his cheeks. "Thank you, sister." "Happy New Year, sister." If colors could describe a person's mood, mine right now was a white cloth splashed with paint. A complete mess. Sour and angry at his pitiful circumstances. Sad and sympathetic because of his tears. Satisfied and proud because he learned to take care of himself. And also happy because of his calling me sister. Zhou Maoxiu's father was sober for 1 day during the New Year. He cooked, put up Spring Festival couplets, made offerings to ancestors, set off firecrackers. Then he started drinking again. I took Zhou Maoxiu and my uncle's son, joining a large group of village children carrying red lanterns, going door to door to wish everyone a happy New Year. When we returned, our pockets were full of treats and scattered lucky money. I put all the money and snacks into Zhou Maoxiu's pocket. "For you. Go home and have a prosperous little New Year." "Sister," I pushed him. "Hurry up and go. It's too late. Remember to wear your new shoes tomorrow. Put on new shoes, start a new journey." Zhou Maoxiu left, looking back every few steps. I held my little cousin's hand and went home. My little cousin was only 5. He opened his round eyes wide and asked me, "Sister, Big Brother Joe won't let me call you sister." "Then what should I call you?" "Me. That little bastard. Still asking for trouble during the New Year." On the first day of the Lunar New Year, Zhou Maoxiu didn't wear his new shoes. He said he couldn't bear to. A semester passed. The shoes on his feet changed from this worn-out pair to that broken pair. But he never once wore the new shoes. That semester he scored full marks in both subjects. I was proud for quite a while. All those times making him recite texts and poems on the way to and from school. Tutoring him in math on weekends, it wasn't in vain. He had grown taller. In year 2, he even became class president. By now, Zhou Maoxiu had the image of a self-reliant, impoverished student. He wore old clothes and shoes, but they were clean. His back was straight. He looked ahead directly. His face didn't show much expression, but he carried himself without arrogance or civility. Quite the feeling of a child from a poor family striving against the odds. He was exactly the kind of figure those public service advertisements look for. And why not? He had to grow vegetables to feed himself, do odd jobs everywhere to earn food, and ensure his studies didn't fall behind. The neighbors were tolerant and kind-hearted, willing to ask him to do small tasks and then give him some rice, flour, or vegetables, preserving his dignity while letting him live openly and honestly. Life was sustainable, as long as he avoided his father. As he grew older and could run faster, he could avoid him most of the time. Occasionally, when he got beaten, he could find a chance to escape and run to my house. I'd apply some iodine or medicinal wine. At the end of the semester, he came to me joyfully, holding his certificate. I hugged him and spun around several times. This wasn't just his certificate. It was my teaching achievement. Usually failing, then pulling out the big guns for finals. I asked him, he said, Can't understand what the teacher says. Can understand what sister says. Alright then. I have a talent for teaching. In year 3, Zhou Maoxiu's teacher met me and said Zhou Maoxiu had written a composition titled, My Sister. She said she knew at a glance it was about me, and it was very moving. It made her cry. She originally wanted to read it as a model essay in class, but Zhou Maoxiu rushed up to the podium and begged her not to. She had to give up. Then she praised me profusely, saying I was kind, helpful, and would surely have a bright future. She also said she learned a lot from me, that helping someone isn't just about pulling them out of the mire, but also giving them the means to wash off the mud and avoid falling back in. My teacher also praised me. Teachers from other classes praised me. The principal praised me when he saw me. Because of that composition, I was even selected as a municipal level 3 good student in year 6. One of the cited examples was my willingness to help others, helping a younger student escape the shadow of domestic violence, helping him receive support from villagers, helping him develop a love for learning and achieve excellent grades. I never imagined my actions would be seen as so great in others' eyes. I thought everything would be fine once his birth mother came for him, either in year 3 or year 4. I never expected his father to be so brutal and insane. In the dead of night, the silence made the sound of pounding and hitting particularly chilling. I heard Auntie Wang, who lived not far from Zhou Maoxiu, shout, "Zhou Ping, you damned fool! If you keep beating your own son, you'll beat him to death." By the time people hurriedly threw on clothes and rushed over, Zhou Maoxiu was tied up and hanging from a roof beam, stripped naked, covered in blue, purple, and dark red bruises. He was already unconscious. Even a vicious tiger doesn't eat its cubs. What kind of scum was Zhou Ping? The weather was already very cold. Hanging here, being savagely beaten by his own father. How hopeless must he have felt? When he passed out, did he think he was finally free? Damn it! Several uncles carefully lowered Zhou Maoxiu. I quickly wrapped my large bathrobe around him. His whole body was ice cold. His pale skin was covered in new and old wounds, a mass of bruises. I knew he wouldn't die, but my heart felt uncomfortable, clenched in pain. It was the 28th of the 12th lunar month today. New Year's was the day after tomorrow. Other children were receiving all sorts of preferential treatment at home. Even if they were mischievous, they'd be let off with a "It's the New Year." Zhou Maoxiu was beaten black and blue by his father at home during the New Year period. Zhou Maoxiu was sent to the hospital. 2 broken ribs, a hairline fracture in his shin bone, dislocated hands, minor internal bleeding. What a scumbag Zhou Ping was. Simply monstrous. In the hospital, no one went to take care of Zhou Maoxiu. It was strange. Zhou Ping had few relatives in the village, probably a setting for the male lead's background. My granddad said several families pooled money for the expenses. A village aunt who was in the county town caring for her daughter-in-law postpartum took it upon herself to bring meals to Zhou Maoxiu. I went to see him on New Year's Eve. The child saw me and tried to get out of bed, ignoring the bandages all over his body. I hurried forward to stop him. He threw his arms around me, his whole body trembling, his voice very low. "Sister." My heart ached with a stifling pain. I held back tears and gently patted his back. "It's okay. It's okay. It will get better. It will get better." He couldn't even be discharged for the new year. I bought him new clothes, new shoes, snacks, and also gave him a red envelope as lucky money. When I left, the child's eyes were teary, but his face was full of determination. "Sister, Happy New Year. I can't go with you to visit all the houses this year. Goodbye, sister." Zhou Maoxiu was taken away by his mother. That's good. Away from the scum father, towards a new life. When we meet again in university, as long as I don't provoke the female lead or him, that child probably won't deal with me like in the original plot. Plus, going to a different university is also an option. Zhou Maoxiu, I hope when we meet again, you have found happiness. 10 years later, a reunion, a new semester, the same old-style opening ceremony. The same old blazing, proud sun. The new students sat bolt upright, their faces glowing with excitement and fervor, dripping with sweat, their cheeks sun-reddened but still full of spirit. The older students looked like eggplants hit by frost, wilted, listless, and full of resentment and impatience. My roommate and I were cursing the scorching sun, the baking heat, the leadership for scheduling the ceremony at 9 a.m., and the host who had just told everyone not to use umbrellas. "Hello everyone, I am the new student representative. Zhou Maoxiu." A male voice, cool as a forest spring, abruptly reached my ears. My brain froze. Zhou Maoxiu. It was utterly unbelievable. I whipped my head around to look at the podium. White shirt, suit trousers. The speaker was glowing under the sunlight. Zhou Maoxiu was supposed to be with a female lead at Jingbei University, wasn't he? This is Kanan University. Also, I'm a junior. Shouldn't he be a high school senior? Same name, same surname. It wasn't just the same name. It was Zhou Maoxiu. I'd seen his photos, videos and gossip about him passed around multiple times in classrooms and dorms. The youth's figure was already handsome and straight. A simple beige hoodie and blue jeans couldn't hide his striking looks and elegant, refined aura. Instead, it added a touch of youthful innocence. His eyes were still cold, a kind of serene coldness. That former malice and madness seemed hidden behind the serenity and aloofness, as if it might reveal traces of itself at any moment. Many girls were crazy about him. On the campus network, forums, various photos, videos, and even fanfictions sprouted like mushrooms after rain. Amid my roommate's screams, I suddenly realized, like a deity returning from a trial, Zhou Maoxiu had resumed his position as the male lead, the center of attention. He was the bright moon in the night sky, aloof and frosty, surrounded by stars. But he didn't recognize me. We happened to pass each other in the cafeteria while getting food. He was walking straight towards me. While I was wrestling with whether to greet him or not, he walked right past me, not even a glance my way. My heart suddenly relaxed. I let go of all my previous indecision. It was just some leftover food for a few days and some tutoring sessions a long time ago. Why should he remember me? I was being sentimental. So, at the welcome party, after I finished hosting and came off stage, and he went on, I also passed by him without a glance. Thanks to a perfect self-accompanied song performance, Zhou Maoxiu became hugely famous at the university. I thought passing by like strangers would be our end. Zhu Yu organized a get-together between the boys' and girls' dorms. We dressed up, looking as bright as flowers, and arrived at the buffet restaurant. The youthful, slender boy sitting there made me stop dead. Zhou Maoxiu. My Zhou Maoxiu. What? Captivated by his beauty, Zhu Yu smiled mischievously, pointing through the glass door at Zhou Maoxiu. Little male god, right? Took quite a few connections to get him to agree. I silently gave a thumbs up. When we pushed the door open, the boys looked up and saw us. A flash of admiration passed through their eyes. Zhou Maoxiu glanced up, then lowered his head without any particular emotion. No surprise at seeing me. Nothing else. Perhaps in his eyes, I was just a stranger. Good. Now I knew how to face him. Zhu Yu, being strategic, stood opposite Zhou Maoxiu. I was opposite a boy with a crew cut who smiled somewhat goofily. Wang Yuxuan was opposite a gentle boy with glasses. Yang Chengxi was opposite a slightly roguish-looking boy. Different temperaments, all quite good-looking. Zhou Maoxiu stood out especially. Hello, I'm Zhu Yu. This is Wang Yuxuan, Liao Chuan, Yang Chengxi. Zhu Yu introduced us one by one. I glanced at Zhou Maoxiu's expression. Serene and aloof, unchanged. I stopped caring and just assessed the boy in front of me. Thick eyebrows, big eyes, slightly dark skin, white t-shirt, jeans, tall, estimated at 1.8 meters. The third tallest among the four. The tallest was the one opposite Yang Chengxi. He saw me looking at him and gave a shy smile. I returned a gentle smile. Thud, looking towards the sound, the cup in front of Zhou Maoxiu had tipped over, water spreading across the table. The people nearby hurriedly grabbed tissues to help him wipe the table. Zhou Yu even asked with concern if he got wet. Zhou Maoxiu shook his head, his drifting gaze meeting my eyes. I nodded at him and looked away. After the small accident was handled, the boys started introducing themselves. Hello, sisters. This is Zhou Maoxiu. I'm Su Nuo, Zhang Hao, Jiu Yiwei. We shook hands and sat down. My phone vibrated. Yang Chengxi tagged me. Shuna, I want the one opposite you. He looks easy to fool. Wang Yuxuan tagged Yang Chengxi. I want yours. Yours looks full of energy, suits me. 2 QR codes were thrown into the group chat. I quickly followed suit. Over at Zhu Yu's side, they were already calling for us to exchange contact info. We each pulled up our own QR codes and held them under the opposite boy's phone. The practiced ease was startling. Coming back from the restroom, the person opposite me had become Zhou Maoxiu. I looked at Zhou Maoxiu, then at Zhang Hao opposite Yang Chengxi, and Su Nuo opposite Zhu Yu. What's going on? Did these women just blatantly switch seats? I sent a message under the table. So brazen? Wang Yuxuan. The boys suggested switching. I tagged Zhu Yu. Wasn't this the aloof youth you've been dreaming of? How did he end up with me? Zhu Yu said, just asked about his age. Too young, can't bring myself to do it. Me, and I can? Zhu Yu, I believe in you. Yang Chengxi, ditto. Wang Yuxuan, ditto. I looked at Zhou Maoxiu opposite me. He was lowering his head, eating, his bangs covering his forehead and eyebrows. His eyelashes were long and thick, trembling like butterfly wings. He gave off an overwhelming vibe of a well-behaved, sensible good kid. Was it a bit strange? Just moments ago he was aloof and distant, making people think he was hard to approach. Now, this meek, easy-to-bully appearance. Little bastard. Did he study face-changing techniques these past 10 years? I always felt he was up to no good, planning some mischief. I didn't say anything, just kept my head down and focused on eating. My phone vibrated. Yang Chengxi tagged me. The little guy has glanced at you several times. The more he looks, the more wronged he seems. His eyes are almost red. At least look up at him. Talk to him. Heartless woman. I looked up. He buried his head even lower. I could only see his tall, elegant nose bridge, the tip slightly red, as if he'd been crying. A glimpse of red-rimmed eyes. He looked like an abandoned little poor thing. Utterly wronged. I was greatly shocked. This wasn't the Zhou Maoxiu I knew. As a child, he was cold, fierce, sinister, lifeless. Any grievance or pitifulness was restrained and repressed, giving a sense of stubbornness. So, was this the result of the female lead's training? This well-behaved, sensible, pure, and innocent youth appearance? I'm the Villainess. I must remember my place. I pursed my lips and chose to keep eating. Yep. I'm a hard-hearted, heartless woman. Stay away from the male lead. Head towards a brighter tomorrow. So after the meal, I directly waved and said goodbye. Sister. Zhou Maoxiu stepped forward half a step, a carefully cautious expectation showing in his eyes. Though cautious, his intentions were clear as day. He wanted to get close to me, but I didn't know what kind of closeness it was. Whether it was because of our friendship 10 years ago, or because of today's first meeting. So I refused. I need to go back and finish my homework. Bye. In the end, no one went to see the movie. On the way back, Zhu Yu asked me if I had no feelings for that little brother. Without turning my head, I just moved my eyes sideways to look at her. You think I'm as desperate as you? Yes, you're noble, you're amazing. You're the beloved good sister everyone loves. Even if they can't be your boyfriend, they have to be your good little brother. You're the well-fed who doesn't know how the starving suffer. Me. A friend request suddenly popped up. I am Zhou Maoxiu. The profile picture was a range of mountains. Like an ink wash painting. Half dark, inky mountains. Half light, pale sky. The scenery looked familiar, but I couldn't place it immediately. Nickname. Zhu, I hesitated. Zhu Yu pressed my hand. Wang Yuxian reached out a finger and tapped accept for me. I won't allow you to refuse to be a beast. I don't agree either. I thank you both. You're welcome. While Zhu Yu was asking, what if we kiss during an intense moment in the movie? Does that mean no responsibility? Yang Chengxi said that blockhead Zhang Hao had no romance neurons in his brain. Only thoughts of food and basketball. Wang Yuxian said she was just one fish in Jiu Yiwai's pond, flirting with him daily, in a way that was utterly intoxicating. I said, haven't been chatting. Can't be that kind of beast. Wasn't completely true that we hadn't chatted. We'd exchanged a few simple messages. He asked, what are you doing, sister? I replied, getting ready to sleep. Do not disturb. He said, sister, let me buy you bubble tea. Me, dieting. Do not disturb. Him, does sister hate me? Me, in class, do not disturb. Him, does sister play games? Me, finishing homework. Do not disturb. Then one day, Zhu Yu scolded me in the group chat. Heartless woman. Little Maoxiu is about to cry in his dorm. Can't you just reply properly to his messages? Me. How do you know he's about to cry? She threw a photo into the group. A youth in a black short-sleeved t-shirt, leaning dejectedly against his bed frame, holding his phone with both hands, head slightly bowed. His hair was messy and fluffy. His brows were slightly furrowed. His eye circles red. His eyes glistening with unshed tears. His nose tip red, mouth downturned, looking troubled and pitiful. The picture of someone who had suffered a great wrong. I was stunned by this photo. He looked at his phone this wronged and pitifully every time I rejected him. Had this Zhou Maoxiu been possessed? Or was this just Zhou Maoxiu grown up? Did I remember the book wrong? Or did I transmigrate into the wrong book? I was in a daze. Wang Yuxian tagged me. Heartless woman. How can you be so cruel? Yang Chengxi. Heartless woman, call him quickly. Tell him you love him. Zhu Yu. Su Nuo said that every time little Zhou Maoxiu musters the courage to send a message, he waits for your reply with cautious anticipation. And then the little guy visibly wilts, going from bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to dejected and crestfallen, then wronged and pitiful and on the verge of tears. He's so well-behaved. You heartless woman. How can you bear it? I was bombarded into dizziness by this series of accusations. Then, under their urging, I gritted my teeth and replied to Zhou Maoxiu's message, asking me to go for a walk. Binge-watching dramas. Do not disturb. I am just that consistent, that hard-hearted. This Zhou Maoxiu, neither entirely real nor entirely fake, a confusing mix. I can't afford to get involved. I always feel he's about to go crazy any second. I was trying my best to avoid him when Zhu Yu and the others arranged another group barbecue. I only found out Zhou Maoxiu and the others were also invited when I got there. Zhou Maoxiu sat timidly on a chair. Seeing me, he immediately stood up. Flustered. Sister. He just called out once, then pressed his lips together and fell silent, just looking at the ground. Zhu Yu kept pushing me towards him. He's the male lead. The male lead. The one who is supposed to torment me and put me in prison. Even though I didn't bully him when we were young, and even took care of him, who knows if he remembers the kindness or the grudges? Who can understand my suffering? Sigh. Even though I knew I shouldn't be fooled by this act of his, I couldn't help but soften. I sat down next to him. Instantly, delight sparkled in his eyes, the rims gradually turning red, moisture slowly gathering in his eye sockets, forming teardrops. Then he looked at me, eyes brimming with tears. It felt like my heart had been punched. What sin did I commit? The university was in the suburbs, and many local families had started businesses catering to students. They sectioned off land, planted some trees, flowers and grass. Setting up barbecue grills, parasols and plastic stools attracted many people for outings. Today, the 4 boys were performing quite well, very proactive. Zhou Maoxiu was the best among them. One moment bringing grilled chicken wings, the next grilled corn, running back and forth, like a little servant, being ordered around yet utterly delighted. I was like a lord playing games, chatting, eating. Then I absent-mindedly took a bite of the potato skewer held near my mouth. Pulling my focus away from the game, I shifted my gaze left and met Zhou Maoxiu's deep, ocean-like eyes. He immediately curved his eyes into smiles. The sunlight shattered into brilliant starlight within them. "Sister, is it tasty?" I blinked, vaguely wondering if the depth and possessive aggression I saw in his eyes moments before had been a trick of the light. I subtly shifted my gaze to look for Wang Yuxuan and the others. Those wretched women were sitting far away, playing Dudiju, a card game. "Sister," a shiver ran through me. This soft, pitiful voice was a critical hit. "I'll listen to you, sister. Please don't ignore me. I'm begging you. Did I really just imagine it earlier? And his request isn't unreasonable, right?" Puppy dog eyes, innocent and pure, gazing at me, pleading softly. It's normal to soften, right? An ordinary day, an ordinary end of class. Zhou Maoxiu suddenly appeared, standing at the classroom door, looking at me sitting in the second row by the door with anticipation and nervous caution, calling out, "Jinna, sister." He held the hem of his shirt with both hands, standing straight. His hair was soft, his fringe covering his forehead. His eyes looked at me, lowered, then looked up again, showing a bit of awkwardness, looking both young and well-behaved. The bustling classroom seemed to freeze momentarily, everyone looking at him. After all, he was somewhat of a campus celebrity. Rumor had it he was firmly in first place in the latest school heartthrob poll. Standing planted at the classroom door like this was indeed very noticeable. Under everyone's envious gazes, I walked up to him. The youth's eyes visibly brightened, bright as the morning stars. I was somewhat charmed, but it was still within controllable limits. I took hold of his sleeve and led him to the empty classroom next door. "What's wrong? Is something the matter?" He lowered his head, one foot scuffing the ground, voice very soft. "Sister, I'm 18 today. Tomorrow I'll be an adult." He looked up, his eyes shimmering with hope. "Can you celebrate my birthday with me?" Softening once leads to softening every time. It's a sickness, so it needs to be cured. I immediately took out my phone and transferred 280 to Zhou Maoxiu. "Buy your own cake. Sister has class. Be good." I hardened my heart and returned to the classroom. Just as I sat down, Wang Yuxuan gave me a solid elbow jab, making my stomach ache. "You beast. Beast." Zhu Yu grabbed my face, making me look at the classroom door. "See that, you beast?" The little guy's eyes are red with hurt. "What did you do to him?" Yang Chengxi swiftly gathered my things, hung my bag around my neck, lifted me up, and pushed me out. "Go. Beast. Go comfort the little guy." I found myself awkwardly planted in front of Zhou Maoxiu once again. "I thank you all." I tried hard to calm my annoyance, smoothed my hair, adjusted the bag slung over my neck. "Let's go. If sister doesn't want to, it's okay. I'm used to spending birthdays alone." Once pushed out, did you think I could just go back in? I walked ahead. "Let's go. How do you want to celebrate your birthday?" Did I make sister unhappy? No. "Sister, let me carry your bag." Don't boyfriends carry their girlfriends' bags? I was stunned. What boyfriend? Was this kid out of his mind? Or did he have an accident and injure his head in the last 10 years? He actually reached for my bag strap. I immediately pressed down on my bag, taking half a step back. "Little friend, Gosh, I was so startled I couldn't even speak properly. "Little friend, we are just friends, sister and brother. Okay? You call yourself my boyfriend. Did you ask me? Did you ask?" The little friend tilted his head, face full of innocence. Does sister like role-playing? One blow after another. Ouch, my heart hurts. My breathing trembled, exhaling roughly, Unable to draw breath, I managed a strained, awkward smile. Little brother. Little brother knows quite a lot. Huh. Has this male lead been possessed by something unclean? So absurd, but there's always something more absurd. Merry-go-round, candy floss, disco spin ride, ice cream, Ferris wheel. Poor my old bones. All that was fine. Getting out of the taxi, we stood before a 4-star hotel. I nearly exploded. Worried I might be misunderstanding, I asked, trembling, "Little friend, what does this mean?" Zhou Maoxiu turned his head, meek and submissive, face full of seriousness and shyness. The internet said. He bit his lower lip shyly, glanced at me bashfully, then turned his face away. Goodbye. I grabbed my bag, turned and ran, scrambling back into the taxi, shouting desperately, "Driver, go! Quick!" The driver floored it, the car shooting far away quickly. Escape was paramount. Escape was paramount. No matter how well-behaved the little brother is, if he's a lunatic, you can't keep him. I sent Zhou Maoxiu a very serious message. Little brother, you are still young. Studying hard is what's important right now. No need to rush into finding a girlfriend. I am just your senior, an ordinary senior. If you cannot clearly define our relationship, then we should not contact each other. The moment I sent it, he immediately video called me, as if he'd been guarding his phone waiting for a message. Flustered, I hung up and turned off my phone. That small action made me feel like I'd run 3 kilometers, my heart pounding wildly, breathing heavily. Goodness, scared the life out of me. I slept very soundly. In my dream, I was even flirting with a little hottie on the disco spin ride. That guy was quite thin, but when I lost my balance and rolled onto his lap, his arms were strong and firm, holding me tightly against his chest, saving me from the embarrassment of rolling around. I felt both happy and sweet inside, looked up to thank him. Zhou Maoxiu looked down at me, his smile icy. Sister, you rolled into my arms yourself. You can't escape now. I suddenly flipped over and sat up, gasping for air. Scared me to death. After calming down a bit, I looked down and met Wen Yuxuan's face full of reproach. I was confused. What's wrong? Zhang Hao asked me what you said to Zhou Maoxiu last night that made him hide under his covers and cry in the middle of the night. Cry? Zhou Maoxiu? Really cried? Who cried? Who cried? What did the heartless woman do to make who cry? Yang Chengxi, applying face cream, came over. Ju Yu sat on the opposite bed. Liao Chun, you really are a love assassin. Turning on my phone, Zhou Maoxiu had sent several messages. Sister, I'm sorry for making things difficult for you. Sister doesn't like me, yet I still force myself on you. It must be really annoying. Sister, I really like you. Please don't ignore me. Sister, are you really not going to talk to me anymore? I could almost imagine Zhou Maoxiu's pitiful appearance, sending messages while sniffing and shedding tears. I truly am deeply sinful. Then I replied to his message. No. I fell asleep. After sending it, I hit my own hand. Making you unable to resist. Making you unable to resist. Yang Chengxi muttered under her breath. You can still recall it. Me. Right. Too late to recall now. I was probably possessed by a ghost just now. Sister, I brought you breakfast. My groggy morning brain snapped awake instantly. I stared at that line of text, lost in thought. Is this what listening to me means? Is this the self-awareness of an ordinary junior? I said, I'm not going to morning class. Cover for me. Ju Yu turned back with a provocative smile. Try me. If you don't come down, I'll bring the little brother up to you. Wang Yuxuan and Yang Chengxi silently gave a thumbs up, respect. By the time I hurried downstairs, the youth in white under the ginkgo tree looked aloof and peerless. I hesitated, not because of the onlookers' gazes, but because I was afraid. He smashed the soy milk and fried dough sticks in his hand over my head. After all, he'd done that to the original host. Sister. He strode over, smiling brightly and sunnily, as if all the happiness in the world couldn't compare to his. I silently took a step back. He stopped, looking confused and somewhat hurt. Sister? I smiled. There are too many people watching. I'm a little scared. Really? I nodded repeatedly. Yes, definitely. It must be that. He immediately smiled again, scratched the back of his head, and handed me the plastic bag awkwardly and shyly. Senior Ju Yu said you wanted breakfast from the second canteen, so I bought some for you. The wheel of fate turns. What goes around comes around. Just because I helped Su Nuo ask Ju Yu out for bubble tea, that woman really holds a grudge over the smallest things. And the stuff from the second canteen is terrible. I thank you very much. Apart from the morning breakfast, when he had no classes, he would accompany me to my lectures, save me seats in the library, occasionally send over bubble tea or spicy hot pot via delivery. The girls kept praising how thoughtful the little brother was. I had nothing to say. He also asked me to walk around the school sports field, watch club performances, see a movie, and attend their freshman basketball games. The little guy ignored the ordinary senior-junior label thoroughly. Whenever I questioned him, he'd just look at me innocently, cautiously, and with a wronged expression, saying, Sister, did I do something wrong again? Can't a little brother invite his sister to a movie? Can't we even take a walk and chat? We're not even holding hands. The little brother is innocent. It's just that the sister has too many demands. Right? There was a National Day arts performance and I was in a group dance. I didn't practice much, only cramming at the last minute like clasping the Buddha's feet in a crisis. I wanted to use this to calm myself down, return to my original hard-hearted state. But Zhou Maoxiu waited outside the dance studio every day, just sitting there. The rumor that we were boyfriend and girlfriend started spreading from the dance studio. Before I could even explain, I received many congratulations. After changing, I came out. Zhou Maoxiu stood in the long corridor holding my bag, looking at a painting on the wall. The lighting wasn't very bright. The walls were covered with art students' works. At a glance, this slightly curved corridor seemed like an endless space monster. Its wide-open mouth looked ready to devour him. Or perhaps he was the master of this monster, waiting with claws bared for prey to take the bait. It was contradictory. As if sensing my gaze, he turned his head and accurately looked at me. He was like a predator, his gaze sharp, keen. Those eyes, like a hawk locking onto its prey in the vast sky, latently declaring, I want you. My heart skipped a beat. Then, Zhou Maoxiu's eyes curved, his gaze warm, soft and obedient, a smile blooming, pure and innocent. Sister. His voice was gentle, well-behaved and charming. A chill climbed from the soles of my feet, winding its way around my heart. My heart constricted suddenly. I actually felt like trembling. Damn. This Zhou Maoxiu was really bizarre. Waving goodbye to the other dance students, I went downstairs with Zhou Maoxiu. Then, he took a rose from behind a flower pot, a cup of bubble tea from behind a sculpture, a box of desserts from behind a vase. The dance studio was on the 3rd floor. The stairwell walls were cleverly embedded with greenery and some clay sculptures and artworks, forming a unique landscape. Light and shadow played off each other. The harmony between the plants and art created separate, distinct scenes that also blended into another kind of beauty. The first time I passed this wall, it was astonishing. After 3 years, it was commonplace. Today, every niche held a surprise and an expectation. When we reached the 1st floor, the last niche, my heart pounded and I held my breath involuntarily. Zhou Maoxiu reached in and pulled out a red velvet box. My head, dizzy with surprises, suddenly cleared. This definitely wouldn't do. He's only 18. And there are 4 more years. Who knows if he'll meet the female lead during that time? The box opened. Inside lay a pair of red earrings. I wanted to slap my earlier, wildly speculating self. Sister, will you be my girlfriend? I'm done for. Even though I ran fast, charging towards the dorm like a wild bull with an armful of stuff, I was genuinely moved. Back in the dorm, looking at the things scattered on the desk, my face flushed, heart racing. Did I forget something? Little Su Nuo, to chase Ju Yu, organized a trip to see a romance movie. I'm done for. The thought of watching a movie with Zhou Maoxiu actually made me a bit excited, a bit shy. The cinema was dim and hazy. Only the light from the movie screen flickered. Bright then dark. To avoid disturbing each other, the seats were chosen far apart. Luckily, there were few people. From my seat, I could clearly see Wang Yuxuan down to the left and Zhu Yu on the right. When the male and female leads kissed, that LSP lecher Zhu Yu went and kissed her little guy. The little guy was utterly stunned by the kiss. What a sin. I grabbed a piece of popcorn and continued watching the show. My mouth was open, the popcorn halfway there when it got intercepted. Zhou Maoxiu grabbed my wrist, and with his mouth, took the popcorn from between my fingers. I sat there with my mouth open, eyes wide, looking like an idiot. Sister, why won't you talk to me? I closed my mouth. So, what does that have to do with you eating popcorn from my hand? Didn't I specifically buy you your own bucket? Finished it already? I leaned over to look. No, it was full. I quickly pulled my hand back. You. He pressed his lips together, his eyes bright and moist in the dim light. Puppy dog eyes. I gasped. This soft, innocent look really was kinda cute. Sister, when will you agree to be my girlfriend? His voice was slightly deep, carrying a hint of coaxing. My heart pounded faster, felt like it was about to jump out. Trembling, I answered cautiously, You're very good. But you're too young. Only 18. Zhou Maoxiu suddenly leaned close, a flash of mischief in his eyes. His warm breath sprayed on my ear, making it tingle. When sister says small, what is she referring to? The pause was masterful. I was the dirty-minded one. I shot to my feet. The popcorn scattered noisily all over the floor. He looked up at me, his eyes bright in the hazy light. The upward-looking posture felt inexplicably devout. He even looked utterly pure, as if he'd just asked a very ordinary biological question. Oh, I'm the dirty-minded one. How could the little brother be wrong? Hey, in front! You're blocking. A dissatisfied voice came from behind. I immediately sat down in the empty seat next to me, staring intently at the movie screen, not moving my eyes. Zhou Maoxiu had changed. He was no longer that gloomy, fierce youth. I had changed too. I had become less pure. Sister, lift your foot a bit. The voice was right next to me. Startled, I reflexively moved my foot. Looked down. Zhou Maoxiu was crouched under the seats, picking up the scattered popcorn. Holding the hem of his t-shirt, he had already gathered quite a bit inside. I inexplicably remembered when we were kids, on the second New Year's Eve, going door to door to get candy and red envelopes. I still gave my share to him, wishing him a happy New Year. Back then, he also held out his clothes like this, rarely showing a smile. Under the light, his teeth were gleaming white. Dazzling. Pity we couldn't spend a third New Year's Eve together. The memory surfaced of him in the hospital bed, full of reluctance yet putting on a brave face. I silently squatted down and helped pick them up. One moment of softening leads to many. No. Wait a minute, the little brother has A's. Gleaming white, with distinct muscle definition. Appearing and disappearing with the light and dark of the movie screen. He just turned 18. High school was so busy. Shouldn't he be as thin as a twig? Where did the abs come from? Didn't see much of the movie afterward. The two of us sneakily, covertly picked up the popcorn scattered all over the floor. Zhou Maoxiu smiled obediently, his eyes curved like crescents. Sister, you're so good. Handing out the good person card quite readily. I can do that too. You're also very good. Back in the dorm, I found a red velvet box in my bag. A sticky note was tucked inside the box. A line of writing, forceful and elegant. Sister, don't these two red jadeite beads look like red beans? Longing etched into the bones, do you know it? A wave of heat rushed to the top of my head. My face instantly fell burning hot. I slowly opened the box. Two red, warm, Smooth and lustrous earrings lay quietly inside. "Hey, what's that in your hand?" Wang Yuxian's exclamation sounded. I snapped the box shut with a smack and stuffed it into my bag. "Nothing." The three women gathered around. "Zhu Yu, your face is red." "Yang Chengxi, the expression of someone whose heart is stirred." "Wang Yuxian, eyes shifty, you're lying." In unison, "Confess me." To prevent these three from going crazy, I took out the box but hid the note, then endured a round of their sarcastic remarks. I could handle it. I didn't expect Zhou Maoxiu, while accompanying me to class, to find a love letter in my textbook. Held between his index and middle fingers was a thin envelope, white, with a bright red heart drawn on the cover, and the words to Chun. "Sister, what is this?" His voice trembled, low and hoarse. His eyes red, both hopeful and despairing, as if waiting for me to lie to him, yet also as if the fact was unchangeable. He seemed in an extremely fragile state. I thought a mere little love letter didn't warrant this end of the world. Disaster-stricken, life and death separation, betrayed and abandoned demeanor. "A love letter," I said. I reached for the envelope in his hand, but he suddenly raised his hand high. I grabbed empty air and nearly fell into his arms. Fine, I wouldn't take it. I lowered my head, pretending to focus on my notes. The envelope appeared in front of me, blocking my notebook. What does the 9 mean? Two long, bony fingers pressed on the envelope. His nails were neatly trimmed, glossy. His fingertip pointed at that red heart. Even the ballpoint pen-drawn heart seemed to gain a touch of sophistication from it. I was stunned. Yang Chengxi in front leaned back against our desk, turning her head to whisper, "The 9th love letter." The 9th love letter from the talented guy in the Chinese department. I poked her head with my pen. "Shut up. Sister, have you read them all?" His voice grew even lower, so low it seemed devoid of emotion. Wang Yuxian leaned over. "She's read them all, replied to them all too. Those two sour, mischief-making wenches." "Hey." He seemed to laugh softly. The laugh was very light, as if from extreme pain. Looking closely, the youth's eyes were already glistening, the corners of his eyes red. On his pale face it looked like he was holding back tears of blood. I really am not human." The intense guilt sprouting in my heart made me tremble. I had to explain. Zhou Maoxiu suddenly stood up and walked straight out of the classroom through the side door. The teacher on the podium even joked. "Oh? Is the little fellow not staying to keep sister company for the rest of the class?" Shocking. Even the teacher knew him. The little guy even politely replied, "Hello, teacher. Something came up suddenly. I can't continue listening to your lecture." It's fine. Go ahead." What was with this elder's benevolence and tolerance? For several days in a row, Zhou Maoxiu didn't initiate contact with me. It seemed he had given up. This sudden absence of him revolving around me felt strangely unsettling, as if something was missing by my side. Zhu Yu scolded me, saying I just had a masochistic streak. Wang Yuxian and Yang Chengxi unanimously called me a heartless woman and told me to go find Zhou Maoxiu. They even said they'd already explained things to Zhou Maoxiu's roommates, who would tell him it was all a misunderstanding. I didn't go. He didn't listen to the explanation. Why should I be the one to find him? The freshman basketball finals. Zhou Maoxiu had invited me before. Even though he didn't renew the invitation up to the last minute before the game, I still watched the entire match from the back corner and left quietly. Just fulfilling a previous agreement, that's all. This is how I poohed myself. For the National Day Arts performance, I inexplicably wore that pair of red jadeite earrings. Even though I knew people sitting below couldn't see the small earrings on someone on stage. I must have gone mad. Just as I stepped off the stage, a windbreaker was thrown over my head. In that brief moment, I saw a pair of cold, condensed eyes, seemingly surging with scorching anger. I was hugged and pushed into a small dressing room. I thought I heard a few heavy, deep breaths. By the time I managed to pull the windbreaker off my head, I only saw a figure flash past outside the door. The door was closed. "Sister, Get changed first. Me. I withdrew my hand from pushing the door open, setting aside questions like how he knew which changing room my clothes were in, how he got backstage, etc. Because I wanted to be quick. My movements while changing were large, banging noisily against the small wooden partition. After hurriedly changing, I pushed the door open but found no one outside, only people bustling back and forth backstage. I messaged him asking where he was, but got no reply. Couldn't bring myself to call him either. I returned to the dorm fuming, whatever. Let it be. That little bastard. National Day holiday started. I wasn't planning to go home. Zhou Yu and the others found a few part-time jobs. Lin Bei asked me to return all the love poems and lyrical essays he'd written for me. A magazine had commissioned him. They wanted to publish a physical book of his work. He said the lyrical essays and poems he wrote for me were masterpieces from moments of sudden inspiration and flowing ideas, things he couldn't usually write. I said, "You can't write that many on the spot now, so you're using them to make up the numbers, right?" "Correct." He took all the envelopes. "You really are a hard-hearted woman. Why don't you go cultivate immortality? Sever all emotions and desires." "Hey, wrote so many, and not a single one moved you? I thank you. Out of all those love letters, did any of them address me as Liao Chun'er?" He looked puzzled. "No." I stared at him. "Did they?" "Oh." He pulled the letters out of the envelopes, pretending to be confused and troubled. "Want to get food?" "Sure." After eating, we walked back to school, discussing the concepts and ideas in his writing all the way, how many copies the book might sell, what the royalties might be. "You should try writing novels. The literary style doesn't sell well." "True. Go see what's popular now." My words cut off abruptly because of a couple on the tree-lined path ahead. Zhou Maoxiu and the female lead. I knew she was the female lead at a glance. The book described her once. Elegant and gentle, like the spring sun, bringing warmth to those around her, yet not intensely so. Reflexively, I grabbed Lin Bei's sleeve and pulled him onto a side path. "Hey. What's up?" "Shut up." I put the earrings at the very back of the drawer. Out of sight, out of mind. And I wanted to punch my earlier self, the one whose heart couldn't stay still. Preferably to death. Forgetting my own identity. Forgetting I was just a passerby. Actually trying to compete with the female lead for the male lead. Good. Reining in on the brink of the cliff. It's not too late. For a full 7 days, Zhou Maoxiu didn't send me a single message. Probably accompanying the female lead. I didn't care. I earned money. I made $1,000 from 7 days of part-time work. I have money. Money is the most reliable thing. That little bastard. After the holiday, during class, the counselor gave a few of us slots for a 1-year exchange study program at Jingbai University. I held the application form, hesitant and indecisive. Then I slapped my right hand twice hard. Still hesitating. Still harboring some unrealistic fantasy. The female lead is already here. Lin Bei gave me the outline for his novel. I tucked it into my book, then recalled the scene of Zhou Maoxiu finding the love letter in a book. So I took it out and put it in my bag. I silently took the love letter out and tucked it back into the book. I won't be influenced by him. Suddenly, a large hand grabbed my wrist and pulled hard. I fell backward, sitting in someone's lap, an arm circling my waist. A somewhat familiar scent enveloped me. My mind went blank. Thankfully, the library wasn't crowded, and I was in a corner. Sister. This sister was vastly different from before. Previously, the tone lifted, giving a sense of dependence and youthful innocence. This one seemed gritted out between teeth, the tone sinking, as if I were his enemy. He pressed close to my ear, his exhaled breath hitting my ear and neck directly. Sister is really popular, isn't she? In the days I didn't seek you out, Sister didn't think of me at all, seemed very happy. Let go. He slowly, deliberately, and disregarding my struggling, caught both my hands, pressed them against my abdomen and tightened his arms. Not long after starting university, I heard about sister's reputation as the top student goddess. On forums, the campus network, social media, I could see photos and videos others posted of encountering you. Wherever sister goes, whatever she does, makes the boys flock after her. His voice was slightly low, deep, magnetic, and dangerous. I swallowed. The sheepskin was torn off, revealing the original wolf's fangs. No more pretending? Showing the true nature of the Yanda, ruthless male lead. My tone was stiff and unyielding. It's just everyone's undeserved praise. He rested his chin on my shoulder, holding me in his embrace. I felt as if I were being held in the mouth of a behemoth, as if fangs were pressed against my skin, ready to pierce my flesh at any moment and devour me. All the hairs on my body stood on end instantly, creeped out to the extreme. Oh, and I also heard you attended many mixers, basically with 0 negative reviews. Every guy praised you highly. Couldn't forget you. I always adhered to the principle of parting on good terms. If we can't be lovers, we can still be friends, siblings, right? I also heard that sister likes guys who are a bit more well-behaved. He buried his face in my neck. Damn it. Even though I've played around these past few years, I stuck to principles. Kissing, hugging, holding hands were okay, but I never crossed the line. This was the first time a man held me so overbearingly. And he used his sharp teeth to bite my flesh. Sister, wasn't I well-behaved enough? Why don't you like me? You are very well-behaved. Just let me go first. I tried to pry his hands away. His arms were hard as iron, unmoving. My toes barely touched the ground. Trying to struggle to my feet was futile. Zhou Maoxiu even tightened his embrace a bit more. I couldn't break free at all. The kindness of providing food should be repaid with one's body. Sister, let me be your boyfriend. Let me repay your kindness, okay? The tone sank, carrying a grim anger. I was so shocked I felt my scalp might fly off. So, he had recognized me all along. Was he just playing with me? I had suspected this, even resisted getting close to him, yet still fell into his trap. Unbelievable. Little friend, sister doesn't like being played. I'll spare your life this time. Thank you, sister, for sparing me. I offer myself in return. Get lost. I blocked all of Zhou Maoxiu's contact methods. On the final deadline, I submitted the application form. Then, without stopping, packed my things and arrived at Jingbai University early. After all, I had stumbled. Needed to salvage some dignity. Zhu Yu, who was traveling with me, asked if I was giving up on the little brother. I retorted, "Have you sorted out your little guy?" Her face fell. "Can't handle him. We're hiding." What? Is he going to eat you? Too clingy. Cries at the drop of a hat. The guilt is too strong. I can't bear it. You? What are you hiding from? Fear of death. That guy hid his true personality, pretending to be so well-behaved. It was terrifying. And, playing me. Unforgivable. The second morning after arriving in Huajing, Yang Chengxi tagged Zhu Yu and me in the group. You two beasts. The little guys waited and waited at the door. When they heard from Yuxian and me that you two had gone to washing, one's eyes instantly turned red. The other's temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Wang Yuxian. Beasts, you didn't even tell little brothers. Me. Forgot. Zhu Yu. Forgot. Wang Yuxian. Then take their numbers and WeChat out of the blacklist. You're worse than beasts. Yang Chengxi. Always knew you two had black hearts, but never thought you could be so despicable. The little brothers are so cute, and you just abandon them like that. Me. Wang Yuxian. How's your GU, Yiwei? Who's playing who? Zhu Yu. Yang Chengxi. What about your silly one? Does he remember you in the gaps between eating and basketball? Wang Yuxian. Goodbye. Yang Chengxi. I'm scoping out the next one. Before class, I received a call from an unknown number. Hello? Where are you? I'm in Huajing. Liao, tune in. You're something else. Aye. He hung up. In the past, carriages and horses were slow. To see someone meant traversing great distances. Now, if you want to knife, slang for confront, get someone, even if one is in Wajing and the other in Canaan, the distance can feel very short. The grudge was formed in the morning, the grave dug by the afternoon. I silently withdrew my foot, which had just stepped onto the next stair down. Zhou Maoxiu stood below, looking up at me. Like looking at prey he was determined to capture. Liao Chun, you've outdone yourself, chasing me all the way to Wajing. Go stop him for me. I'll first run. A gentle, jade-like young man walked out from the stairwell corner. It was Su Nuo. Zhu Yu grabbed my arm. Sister, you're also a clay bodhisattva. Save yourself if you can. I'm out of here first. Senior, that wretched woman actually disregarded her image and took off running. Su Nuo anxiously gave chase. I wanted to run too, but after taking just one step back, Zhou Maoxiu's gaze suddenly turned fierce. Like a beast hunting, he took a few large strides up the dozen or so steps and grabbed my wrist. All that pitifulness, all that grievance, all that well-behaved, cute puppy act, that aloof youth persona. It was all an act. Little bastard. Pretty good acting skills. Running? You can't run away. Sister, the youth was quite intimidating. Especially now. He bent close, like a fully drawn bow, ready to release. The sunset glow was blocked by him, his shadow huge and imposing. I was enveloped in his shadow, seemingly with no escape. I struggled, trying to shake off his hand. Utterly useless. Let go. No. That single no nearly choked me to death. He dragged me by the hand towards the school gate. I struggled hard. He turned his head, looking at me calmly and deeply. If you don't want to walk, I can carry you out. Arriving at a cafe, he still didn't let go of me. Long time no see, sister. I played along. Long time no see. Sister, I stood in such a high place. Did you see me? Zhou Maoxiu's eyes were moist, looking at people with a clear spring flowing over stones kind of coolness. Under his gaze, I clearly felt the hairs on my body standing up one by one. Though very confused, I was also very defiant. I've been blind for quite a while. That's why, despite knowing you're the Yanda male lead, I still believed your performance. Thought that since I treated you quite well when we were young, somehow changed your unfortunate childhood, that after you went to your mother's side, being loved by everyone, I thought you had truly found happiness, become sunny and cheerful. Sister saw me, right? During the speech. It was me being stupid, not realizing it was the new student representative speech at the opening ceremony. Sister, why didn't you come find me? I shot back with a question. Why should I have come to find you? His calm composure showed a slight crack, like thin ice on a river cracking, revealing the malice and madness beneath the stillness. Sister, these 10 years, did you ever think of me? When faced with a question you don't want to answer, you can choose to counter with a question. Do you hate me very much? Why pretend to be an ignorant youth to deceive me? Was it very fun watching me, like a fool, being led by the nose? Zhou Maoxiu stared at me unblinkingly, as if trying to find something on my face. The clear moistness in his eyes was gone, replaced by an unusually sharp gaze. But then he laughed. His red lips parted slightly, his neat teeth appearing ghostly white, as if he might pounce at any moment to taste how tough my flesh was. My whole body tensed. Sister, I skipped from year 10 to year 12, crossed the chasm of time, tested into Jingbai, but you weren't there. So I repeated a year and tested into Canaan. This sentence contained a lot of information. The most shocking part was, how did Zhou Maoxiu know I would test into Jingbai University? The original host did test into Jingbai back then. I chased after you, sister. Chased so hard. This chased. Which kind of chase is it? The pursue kind or the hunt down kind? I stared at him warily. What exactly do you want? He looked relaxed. Nothing much. Just repaying sister's kindness of providing food. That's all. I laughed in anger. Repay kindness? Pretending to be innocent and naive to play me. Is this how you repay kindness? I didn't see any kindness repayment. Seeking revenge was clearly evident. Sister, don't call me sister. I'm not your sister. I don't deserve to be your sister. He instantly darkened. There was no visible change, but it felt like a chilling wind surrounded Zhou Maoxiu. Cold and piercingly chilly. His gaze was freezing cold, piercing to the bone. Chunni? I turned my head. It was Lin Bei, also here for the exchange program. You getting food too? Yeah, and this is? I stood up. A junior. Are you leaving? Let's go together. He looked back and forth between us a few times, then nodded. All right. I bent down, picked up my bag, slung it on, nodded towards the silent, cold Zhou Maoxiu. I'm leaving first. After walking some distance, Lin Bei asked, Someone pursuing you? Seeking revenge. He gave a thumbs up. Respect. After the shock, I still found it unbelievable. Did you reincarnate? I reincarnated. Zhou Maoxiu's perspective. I died in a car accident. On my way to deliver the share transfer agreement to Fan Zhou. That woman only cared about her career. Yet she created the illusion of being deeply in love with me. Even Uncle Fan and my mother were deceived by us. I've always had my memories. I thought I was just reliving what I had already experienced once, and even began planning my counterattacks. I threw a stone at Liao Chunyi's head, and she passed out. A large part of my childhood suffering came from her. She deliberately bullied me, instigated others to harass me, framed me, shifted blame. But when she opened her eyes, she looked utterly bewildered. When she saw me, she was first shocked, then exasperated. After silently staring at me for a long moment, she picked up the fallen cake, carefully pinched off the dirty parts, and placed it on her family's wall, signaling for me to take it. That was the little cake I desperately wanted, but never got to eat in my previous life. The little cake that Liao Chun in my previous life ground into mud under her foot, not letting me pick it up to eat. The little cake that, no matter how I tried to compensate myself later in life, always felt like something was missing. Across 2 lifetimes, I finally ate that little cake. It didn't seem that delicious or sweet after all. Very ordinary, even with a strong artificial flavoring taste. Too sweet. Sickeningly sweet. Liao Chun wasn't Liao Chun anymore. She always looked down on me with those almond-shaped eyes. Aloof, disdainful yet sympathetic. She gave me food, even if it was leftovers. I deliberately broke her bowls to test her, but she gave me a sweet. A small candy wrapped in green, transparent wrapper. I had once found one like it. That 3rd-grade boy accused me of stealing it, and beat me until my head bled. When I got home, my father beat me half to death again. And just before receiving this sweet, I had been kicked to the ground because my father, sobering up, found no hot water to drink. My knee was skinned. My forehead hit the wall. After briefly losing consciousness came intense pain. The next moment, Liao Chun actually gave me a sweet. The sympathy and distress in her eyes were so thick they seemed tangible. Like the candy in my hand, sweetening my heart. A dark thought suddenly occurred to me. Since I had somehow swapped her in, then she was mine. I wanted Liao Chun to always feel sorry for me. Only feel sorry for me. So I stole laundry detergent, clothes hangers, got into fights. I couldn't bear to eat that sweet. Found a medicine bottle to keep it in. Carried it with me always. Even took it to Shanghai. Until it expired, molded, turned black, I still kept it hidden. Even Liao Chunhe didn't know. It was my sweet, the first sweet someone gave me in my life that I truly owned. The sweet Liao Chunhe gave me. She went to the city for the holidays. I knew she wouldn't return until New Year's with her parents, but I still finished the workbook in one day. What if she came back? She didn't. I ran to her house every day to check. Her grandparents kindly greeted me each time, gave me snacks, 2 sweet potatoes or a bowl of meat. I found something to do. Helped her grandparents dig the earth. carry firewood, weed. This way, I could pass the time I spent missing her, the endless, uncountable time. Soaking laundry detergent, counting to 100 before washing. Holding a bag, counting to 100 before going out to look for her. But even counting to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, she still didn't come back. Li Haochun was so good. She came back, brought me snap poppers and spinning tops, even a pair of new shoes, and took me door to door for New Year's greetings. I didn't let Liao Chu, his cousin, call her sister. She was my sister, mine alone. But I didn't get to wear my new shoes. I carefully placed them by my pillow, planning to put them on first thing on New Year's Day. I woke up to my father throwing them into the stove. Only the pungent smell of burning plastic and the charred, black ashes in the stove remained. I truly wanted to kill someone. And he had the nerve to scold me. "Are you a beggar? Taking anything anyone gives you?" I ran out. I was afraid I'd commit an unforgivable act. I didn't want Liao Chunhe to think I was bad. Didn't want her to hate me. I deliberately tested poorly. When she tutored me, I also deliberately answered questions wrongly. I loved seeing her worried, anxious, and frustrated because of me. So angry she'd even hit me. Slapping my palms, patting my back. This kind of hitting was different from my father's beating. My father's beating was disgust, hatred, venting anger. Liao Chunhe's hitting was care, disappointment, anxiety, frustration at my failure to meet expectations. Since I could remember, no one had ever cared about me. Whether the first lived or died, no one cared. Now, Liao Chunhe cared. I was someone who was cared about too. Seeing me score teens or 20s on unit tests, she'd sigh worriedly. Getting my final exam results, she'd beam with joy. I thought I might be a pervert, to enjoy so much seeing Liao Chun's emotions rise and fall because of me. So I didn't let the teacher read my essay aloud. If read, everyone would know how good Liao Chui was, and they would try to take her from me. She was in year 6 now, graceful and elegant, always the host for various events, the school council president, recipient of awards at every commendation ceremony. Famous throughout the school, even in the town. So many people liked her. Teachers, elders, boys, and my father. My father was a beast. He actually wanted me to trick Liao Chun into coming home. Disgusting. I picked up a brick and threw it at him. This time I didn't run. I just wanted to beat him to death, end the trouble for good. But ultimately, I was small and weak. Strung up, I still tried my best to kick him. Used all the vicious words I knew to curse him. I counted to 4,372. Before losing consciousness, I saw Liao Chunho. In pink, fluffy pajamas, her face full of anxiety and anger. Then she covered me with her pajamas. So warm, so fragrant. A person's life has many unforgettable moments. And many of my unforgettable moments were because of Liao Chunin. She visited me on New Year's Eve, too. New clothes, new shoes, lucky money. I was so reluctant to let her go, but I also couldn't bear her not being with her family for the reunion. I liked Liao Chun so much. I wanted her to take me home, and keep her all to myself. I called her grandfather. Besides telling him to be careful of my father, I also asked for Liao Chunhe to come to the phone, to ask her to come get me. She answered. She said, "You stay in the hospital properly. I'll come get you on the weekend." She didn't come. By the time my mother completed all the procedures, the weekend had passed. It was Wednesday, and she still hadn't come. I suddenly realized to her, I was just a child. If things continued like this, maybe she wouldn't easily accept me. Then I should leave, grow up, and find her later. When I missed her, I'd count. When I couldn't bear it, I'd call her house. But her home phone didn't connect. It was a dead number. I couldn't find her. I chased across the gap in time, skipped grades, tested into Jingbai. She wasn't there. I even endured the disgust of attending my father's funeral, asked the old neighbors, found out her whole family had moved to the city, and learned she tested into Canaan. I stood by the low wall of her house, at the spot where she placed the suite, and took a photo. Half sky, half mountains. Liao Chunhei, I'm coming after you. I tested into Kanan. I saw her. Tall and slender, lazy curls framing a beautiful face. Scholarly yet rational, gentle yet somehow aloof, and possessing a mature intellectual elegance that didn't belong to her age. Liao Chunhei, such a shining person. She was the most talked about person in the dorm. Pretty, smart, popular, treating people warmly, with a sense of distance yet not making them feel she was cold. The boys' dorm even circulated her preference, well-behaved guys. But she seemed unwilling to acknowledge me. Then I'd find a way to get close to her. Pretend to be well-behaved. At the mixer, she didn't look at me, just stared at Zhang Hao. What was so good about that blockhead? Dark as a monkey. Finally managed to get senior Zhu Yu's attention onto Su Nuo. So Liao Chunhei could only be paired with me. She seemed to treat me just as an ordinary junior, very distant, much more so than other mixer partners. Why? She should be good to me alone. I tried every way to get close to her, stick to her, gain her attention. She always maintained her distance. I begged her to celebrate my birthday with me, then deliberately acted innocent and shy, giving her a big shock. Her reaction was so cute. I liked her so much. Wanted to give her all the good things in the world. But even though she seemed moved, she sobered up in time. She seemed to like me, yet kept me at arm's length. I was anxious. With so many people watching covetously, how could I make her mine early? Because of a love letter I played hard to get. But how dare I keep my distance from her? I hid around her, ready to chase away any men at any time. She secretly came to watch my game. My heart felt sweet as honey. But her dance costume was too revealing. Her movements seductive and enchanting, making the men below go crazy with desire. Fuming, I slipped backstage, waited for her to come off stage, wrapped her in clothes, and shoved her into the dressing room. I stood with my arms crossed, leaning against the door, staring down the covetous men. Then, I was chased out by the backstage teacher. My phone fell during the jostling, the screen cracking. There were too many stage exits. I couldn't guard them all alone. Decided to wait at her dorm. Someone came to tell me my mother and the others were waiting at the school gate. Hi. By the time I settled my mother, Uncle Fan, and the others, bought a new phone, Liao Chinhe was already getting quite close with the guy who wrote the love letters. I was furious. I couldn't pretend anymore. I held her tightly, saying I wanted to repay her kindness of providing food with my body. She realized I had been pretending to be good to deceive her. Told me to get lost. Getting lost was impossible. I had to guard her closely by my side. She was my treasure. But Liao Chinhe ran away. She actually ran away. People have obsessions. Like the cake I never ate as a child, the candy I found, and that person who felt like salvation. Only by possessing them can one be healed. Liao Chinhe, I will always catch up to you. That Zhou Maoxiu could come to Jingbai University as an exchange student, I attribute to the male lead's omnipotence. The coursework at Jingbai was heavy, the study schedule tight. Zhou Maoxiu insisted on bringing breakfast, occasionally accompanying me to class and the library. He gave me small gifts, took me to authentic roast duck places, to concerts of singers I liked. Also accompanied me to part-time jobs, ate at street stalls, went to historic streets and alleys, learned to take photos for me. Whenever I turned my head, he was there. Jingbai University and its surroundings were filled with traces of our footsteps. He also asked me daily when I would wear the earrings again for him to see properly. Zhu Yu asked me, what if Zhou Maoxiu hadn't chased me to watching? I said it wouldn't have mattered much. We'd just go our separate ways happily. She asked again. And now? I said, considering it. She said I was excessively calm. It seemed like I was already infatuated, yet always clear-headed and rational. Zhu Yu said, it's fine. He's got you protected, tightly sealed. Not a single fly can get through his protective shield to bother you, the egg. Conquering you is just a matter of time. Coming out from the debate competition venue, Zhou Maoxiu pulled me into a stairwell corner. held me deathly tight, his face buried in my neck. I missed you so much. 3 days of closed-door training had just ended today. Almost a week, during which I hadn't contacted him. He didn't go crazy, just held me and said he missed me. All right, come with me for dinner later, then take the high-speed rail back to Wajing. I patted his shoulder, signaling him to let go. He nuzzled my neck. It's not far from my mom's place here. Can you accompany me to see them? My mom is still upset I came to Jingbai without discussing it with her. Being soft-hearted was indeed a terminal illness. At the dinner table, I introduced him as my younger brother. He didn't refute it. Instead, he greeted very obediently. Hello, seniors. The first debater kept toasting me frequently. One moment saying, do me the honor. Saying, since we're in Jingbai, we should look out for each other, or let's be friends. I politely refused, but he became more and more insistent. Zhou Maoxiu intercepted my glass, smiling, and said, Senior, let me drink for my sister. She has to go see my parents later. First time meeting the parents. Being drunk wouldn't be good. The emphasized first time meeting the parents was quite telling. After saying that, he downed approx. 100 milliliters of baijiu in one go. The table fell very quiet, probably using their smart brains to analyze the information contained in Zhou Maoxiu's words. The team lead teacher broke the silence. You're not biological siblings. Zhou Maoxiu picked up the liquor bottle, poured another half glass. Still smiling, said, We never said we were biological siblings. Teacher, seniors, we have matters to attend to, so we'll take our leave first. Wishing everyone happiness every day. Once out of the private room, Zhou Maoxiu's face darkened. He carried my bag with one hand, held my hand tightly with the other, not letting go. In the taxi, Zhou Maoxiu suddenly softened from a steel plate into a fluffy blanket, holding my arm, leaning on my shoulder. Sister, that guy was interested in you. So? Don't pay him any mind. By tomorrow, or even tonight, the hot news would probably be that I went home with you to meet the parents. Really something else. The little bastard is quite shrewd. Zhou Maoxiu's stepfather prepared a large table of dishes. His mother pulled him into a room, whispering for a good while. Don't know what they discussed. His stepsister and half-brother kept me company on the sofa. Fan Zhaoxiao, the female lead. I wondered why he absolutely refused to call me sister. So it's because sister is exclusively for you. Fan Zhaoxiao covered her mouth, giggling. My scalp felt somewhat numb. I gave an awkward laugh, met his brother's eyes. His brother looked a lot like him. Thick eyebrows, big eyes, clear and bright. Unlike him as a child, full of malice. Are you my sister-in-law? I felt a bit awkward. Fan Zhaoxiao slapped him, face serious. This is my younger brother's wife. I was confused. Why did the female lead act like she had no romantic interest in Zhou Maoxiu whatsoever? She saw me staring at her, tilted her head puzzled. Or should you be my sister, and Zhou Maoxiu my brother-in-law? Me. After dinner, while taking a walk, I asked Zhou Maoxiu, Does Fan Zhaoxiao like you? He said, She just wants to kick me out. So I don't share her and Fan Heyu's family assets. Me. I finally asked, Did she go to Canaan before? Yes, for tourism. I toured around Canaan with my mom and them for a while. Me. Zhou Maoxiu rubbed my head, smiling exceptionally beautifully, visibly joyful. Was sister jealous? How delightful. She doesn't like me that way. She sees me as family. Don't worry, sister. I only like you. In my previous life, in this life, the one I truly like is only you. When leaving, I found out what Zhou Maoxiu and his mother had been whispering about. His mother stuffed into my hands a thick red envelope and a warm jade bracelet, saying it was prepared in a hurry and asking me not to mind. I think I can be certain now. Zhou Maoxiu is my Zhou Maoxiu. He can control his emotions, solve problems reasonably. Not the female lead's Yanda male lead. Zhou Maoxiu acts as my boyfriend, even dreaming about marriage, work, having children, raising children. I said, No need to think so far ahead. He looked at me quietly. Does sister have other plans? I just think you're still young. He slowly gripped my shoulders, pulling into a sinister smile. Sister, are you disdaining me for being young? For a moment I couldn't decipher the meaning behind his words. I just looked at him, silent. Sister. He slowly lowered his head, kissed me lightly, then moved away. On your birthday in Zhengyu first lunar month, I'll give you a big gift. I fell into silence. I felt it was entirely unnecessary. I wore the red jadeite earrings. Zhou Maoxiu put them on for me himself. Sister, wearing these means you're my girlfriend. I will never let go in this lifetime. He liked them very much, always fondling and playing with them, loving them dearly. Winter break arrived. Zhou Maoxiu bought a pile of gifts and came home with me. I thought he was just visiting my grandparents, but as soon as he saw them, he knelt down, said he thanked them for their care, and now wanted their permission for him and me to date. My grandparents had never seen such a spectacle. In their fluster, they agreed. When my parents came home from work, just through the door, he knelt again, kneeling before my parents, begging them to agree to him dating me. My cousin was dumbfounded. Do you need such a big production for dating nowadays? My dad gave my cousin a knock on the head, helped Zhou Maoxiu up. We know your roots, uncle knows you well. Zhao Chen's opinion is our opinion. Zhou Maoxiu turned to ask me, Sister, let's get married, okay? We can get engaged first. Me. Zhou Maoxiu turned to ask me, Sister, let's get married, okay? We can get engaged first. Me? Nahi? Just a moment ago, it was about agreeing to date. How did it become about getting engaged upon turning around? Pushing his luck way too far. I was about to shake my head when Zhou Maoxiu's face instantly fell, his mouth puckering like a poor little thing. Sister said you would be responsible for me. The looks in my parents' and brother's eyes changed instantly. Me. I clearly did nothing. Little bastard.